Hello. I want to welcome everyone to Courageous Conversations. Just say no. This is where I get up on my soapbox and share something that is a social issue that affects me and every human being. I think we all need to put our card on the table and walk in someone else's shoes so we get to hear their side, feel their pain, know what they suffer. I want people to talk to their circle about social issues. How can you make social change happen? Do not forget to like and subscribe. With a loving spirit, Dr. Denise Baker Enoch Benabo, my card is on the table. Imagine for a moment. Imagine your family was stolen. Your ancestors were brought to a foreign land in chains, bought and sold like property. Imagine they endured generations of forced labor, of brutality, of having their children torn from their arms. Then, after centuries of this suffering, a fragile freedom is declared. But the violence does not end. Your community, built from scratch with hope and resilience, is burned to the ground by a hateful mob. Your loved ones are lynched and murdered. Your homes are destroyed. Your history is buried. Now, I ask you a simple question. After all of that, what would you want? Slavery was not just a tragic chapter in American history. It was the foundation, the economic engine, the social structure, the political reality. For 246 years, the institution of chattel slavery defined the American experience, creating immense wealth for slave owners off the backs of millions of enslaved Africans. This was not merely an economic system. It was truly a racial caste system. To justify this immense cruelty, a poisonous ideology was carefully constructed and meticulously maintained. This was the ideology of white supremacy, the belief that the white race was inherently superior and people of African descent were subhuman. This lie was woven into the fabric of the nation, codified in laws preached from pulpits, taught in schools. When the legal systems were not enough to enforce the iron will of white supremacy, a more sinister force emerged from the shadows. The Ku Klux Klan, born in the ashes of the Confederacy, the KKK became the de facto terrorist arm of the white supremacist movement. They were not a fringe group. They were doctors, lawyers, judges, police officers, politicians. In many communities, they were the community. They operated with impunity. Their identities shielded by white hoods, protected by a conspiracy of silence and complicity from local authorities. Lynchings were often public spectacles advertised in advance. The mob was their weapon ability to transform a crowd of ordinary citizens into a lawless mob. United in their hatred, they created an atmosphere of constant fear, forcing a great migration of black families fleeing the South for a chance at safety. The success of black communities was the ultimate refutation of the lie of white supremacy. Greenwood District, a thriving, self-sufficient black community. It was known as Black Wall Street. Banks, hotels, theaters, doctors' offices, beautiful homes. It was a beacon of black prosperity and a testament to the power of resilience. And for that, it had to be annihilated. On May 31st, 1921, a white mob, deputized and armed by city officials, descended upon Greenwood. They were fueled by a false allegation against a young black man. For 2 days, they waged a war on their own citizens. They looted and burned homes and businesses block by block. Private planes were used to drop incendiary devices onto buildings. Men, women, children. When the smoke cleared, 35 city blocks lay in smoldering ruins. Just 2 years later, a similar horror unfolded in the small, predominantly black town of Rosewood, Florida. It was a quiet, prosperous community, church, school, successful businesses. In January 1923, another false accusation, a white woman claiming she was assaulted by a black man, ignited a firestorm of racial violence. A white mob, including members of the KKK from surrounding areas, descended on Rosewood. For nearly a week, they hunted and murdered the town's black residents, burning their homes, their church, their businesses to the ground. The survivors fled into the nearby swamps, hiding for days until they could escape, never to return. Rosewood was erased from the map. They were organized, state-sanctioned acts of ethnic cleansing designed to eliminate black economic competition and political power. In both Tulsa and Rosewood, the perpetrators faced no consequences. The stories themselves were buried intentionally erased from history books and public memory for decades. The survivors were silenced by trauma and fear. The message was clear and chilling: there is no level of success you can achieve that will protect you from our hate. We can take everything from you, even your life, and we will face no justice. Why are these stories not common knowledge? Why do so many Americans learn about Black Wall Street and Rosewood for the first time as adults, if at all? The answer is as disturbing as the events themselves. The violence was followed by a deliberate and systematic campaign of erasure. Official records were lost or destroyed. Newspapers downplayed the events or blamed victims. For generations, a curtain of silence was drawn, a collective forgetting enabled by the white power structure. This erasure is not a relic of the past. It is happening right now in 2025. Modern classrooms are being censored. We are seeing efforts to sanitize history and suppress uncomfortable truths about slavery, white supremacy. Racial violence legislatures are passing laws restricting what teachers can say. They label facts as divisive concepts or as critical race theory, using scare tactics to whitewash the past. They want a comforting, heroic version of history where Tulsa and Rosewood are a footnote or completely ignored. We must teach what really happened. History is meant to teach. We return to the question: after all of this, the centuries of bondage, the reign of terror, the cities turned to ash, the deliberate erasure of the Black story, what does justice look like? It is a question that America has yet to answer honestly. For the survivors of Tulsa and Rosewood, and for their descendants, justice was denied. So, justice must begin with truth. It means putting these stories back into our history books, not as optional sidebars, but as central to the American narrative. It means building memorials, funding museums, teaching our children what really happened. It means saying the words: massacre, terrorism, white supremacy. Acknowledgement is the first, essential step. It is the act of looking the survivors and their descendants in the eye and saying, "We see you." From truth, we can then begin to explore repair. What does it mean to repair the damage of generational wealth that was stolen in a single weekend of fire and hate? These are not easy questions. They involve complex discussions about reparations, about investment in Black communities, and about dismantling the very systems that grew from the poisonous roots of slavery. We must have the moral courage to engage in the conversation. In the end, this really is about the soul of America. The USA is a multicultural country, and we plan to stay that way. For those who want to change that, I recommend that the USA might not be for you. Move back to your country of origin. I invite you to sit with that challenge. Think about what it would mean for your family's story to be erased. What would you want in return? Talk this up with your inner circle of family and friends. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Be well. Sharing is caring.